What's up, guys? Welcome to day 2 of the trading bootcamp. As I went over my last video yesterday, if you haven't watched it, please watch it. I know it's a long video, it's 50 minutes, but it's very, very important to set the tone, to get you motivated, add to your motivation. Because remember, the motivation should already exist inside you. But I really think that set the tone for this bootcamp. Day 2, like we said, we're going to talk about how the market works behind the scenes. And this is going to set up so many people for success just this episode alone, because when you can actually truly understand how the market works and base your approach, your thinking, your everyday plan, and conform it to how the market works, you don't even have to trade the strategy I trade. You don't have to trade the style I trade, but just framing how you think to how the market actually and truly moves will genuinely increase your consistency, your win rate, and can be a big step across that bridge from unprofitability to profitability. So I think this is a very important episode. So please pay attention, get your notebook out, get a snack, get a drink, do what you got to do, take detailed notes, right? But this is going to be a very important episode. And with these, I know yesterday's episode was pretty long, but with these episodes every day from here on out, I want to make sure I'm to the point. I want to make sure it's concise, it's clear. And obviously, if you have feedback, if you have any questions, comment them down below, and I will follow up and answer it with the greatest detail that I can. Okay, so day 2, the goal of today is to make the market feel logical and not random, because a lot of people, they overcomplicate their view of the market. A lot of things that you've been taught, whether it's with ICT concepts or any other things like supply and demand or support and resistance, whatever it may be, right? It's a lot of fluff. It's a lot of noise. There's a lot of stuff that can be confusing to you. You're learning 70 different concepts and you're trying to figure out, well, which one should I use, this and that, right? Well, this is a good episode to reset, right? Kind of clear your mind, start back from, the drawing board. I'm not saying you have to, clear everything and forget everything you ever learned, but this is a good reset for you to actually come back down to earth and be like, okay, this is how the market works. And now using that information to frame how you approach the market and how you think about it. Okay. Not only that, it's important to see what we're going to be covering. So to prepare you, we're going to be covering who moves price, right? Why price moves from area to area, what price must interact with in order to reverse or continue, and why understanding this is going to change everything for you. Okay. Now, before we get started as well, January 23rd, the Limitless Edge is dropping. Okay. Talked about this in the last video, but this is a genuine one-on-one mentorship where I'm going to be personally teaching you how the market works on the highest level possible, all the ins and outs, everything that goes into it, because you do need a structure, right? If you're struggling with overtrading, you're struggling with your own psychology, you know that you're your own biggest enemy and you want trading to be this outlet for you, and you need that guidance, and you need me to genuinely hold your hand through every single process to turn you into a confident and self-sufficient trader for the future, then this is for you. Okay. I want each and every one of you watching this to not only take the information from this series and this bootcamp, but I want you to elevate and completely change your thinking for the better, right? And I want to be able to do that on a personal level with you, right? On a daily personal basis. So if you're interested in that, that's the first link in the description down below. It's only a few people that we're taking on because I'm human. I only have 24 hours in a day, right? So I hope to see you inside. Like I said, first link in the description. Let's get into the video. So we're going to get right into it. And I don't even want you to take my word for it, right? You can do it yourself. I'm about to show you right now what I'm about to talk about, but you can look this up on ChatGPT. You can look this up on Google. You can take a trip to Wall Street and ask somebody, and you're going to get the same answer. And like I said, I'm just going to demonstrate and show you myself. And if you want to look this up on your own, go right ahead. How does the market work? What did ChatGPT tell us? How the market works: clear, practical, no fluff. The market is an auction, buyers versus sellers. Okay, buyers want the lowest possible price. Sellers want the highest possible price. And price only moves when one side is more aggressive. If buyers are more aggressive, price goes up. If sellers are more aggressive, price goes down. If neither side is aggressive, then price goes sideways. There's no random movement. Only imbalances between buying and selling pressure. There's a lot of things that a lot of people are going to tell you that there's some special algorithm and some complex that. Please do not overcomplicate it. Okay. The market moves by buyers and sellers getting their orders filled. Simple as that. Okay. Orders are the only thing that moves price. Every candle is built from orders. Market orders, aggressive and moving price. Limit orders, passive and absorbing price. Okay. Price rises when market buys consume sell side limit orders, and price falls when market sells consume buy side limit orders. When price stops moving, it means that someone is absorbing the pressure. Absorption, we talked about this. I've talked about this in my other videos, right? Absorption, that is the key that unlocks the markets. So now you know who moves price. Now, why does price move from area to area? Well, it all comes down to who moves price again. That's the foundation. This is the first thing you always have to know. Why price moves from areas like this to areas like this is simply what we just explained. Buyers and sellers are going to get filled. Okay. The market is going to make a move up. It's going to make a move down. It's going to make a move up. It's going to make a move down. That's just how the market works. We know that point blank, right? But in order for the market to go down from an area like this, where there's a lot of participants, there's a lot of sellers. Remember, we just talked about absorption has to take place. So why does price move from here to here? Well, simply, when price came down here, we had a lot of sellers, aggressive sellers coming into this area, right? And because they came into this area, they're now interacting with something down here, right? Interacted with the participants down here and these orders. And in this area, absorption has to always take place. That is the why. Why does price move from here to here? Or why does price continue and break out even higher? Absorption is the why, the how. Because when price comes down here and we're interacting, we're absorbing a lot of these orders, right? If the sellers are strong enough to not only absorb our orders here, and all the buyers that are here, if they use that as fuel, then we are going to head lower. Yes, the price and the market moves up or down. Duh. But understanding why is very, very, very important. So when we come down here and that absorption takes place, if these buyers are now strong enough to absorb these sellers, remember that fight has to take place. If they're strong enough to absorb these sellers, and now there's buyers that are left over that are ready to move price higher, that's what's going to move price to the upside, right? And we see price finally come and interact with an area with a lot of participants and sellers. Now, why do we move down? Well, we come back up, right? These buyers that are pushing price up from here all the way up here, right? They were strong enough to push price up until here. And once we got here, this is where absorption took place. Now, these buyers were absorbed in this area. And then after that absorption takes place, we saw those sellers get filled and get ready to move the market back down. Okay. Now, it's easy to explain it, but when you're trading live in the markets, it can be hard to figure out and decipher where that's going to happen, right? That's why you want to use tools that can help you. Price action, which are going to be part of the episodes that are to follow in this entire bootcamp. Right. But understanding the why behind every move in the market is going to completely change and really revolutionize how you approach the market as a whole. Okay. So we know who moves price, why price moves from area to area. And now we also know what price must interact with in order to reverse or continue. We always have to interact with orders that are actually on the order book. Right? We have to interact with them. If we want to reverse, like we talked about, we need to interact with participants and basically people who are willing to buy at this price. If there's nobody willing to buy at this price and price comes down, why would we go up? If there's nobody willing, if we know that buyers and sellers move the market and nobody's willing to buy at this price, why would we make the move up, right? We're going to make a move up where there's a significant amount of people that are willing to buy at that price and are strong enough to utilize these sellers now as fuel to move higher. And after that absorption takes place, we're going to see that move up. Okay. Like I said, it may take a little while to get used to that mindset, but this is how you want to think about the market. You want to essentially look at every high, every low, and you want to figure out, why did price reverse here? Why did price break out here? Right? And this is why using things like simplified order flow, which is the basis of my trading system, right? This is what I mentor people and teach people about every single day, right? This is something that's so important, which remember, January 23rd, that is starting. So if you want to, apply on the first link. But this is super important because when you can't unsee this in the market. Once you start to have this way of thinking, and even if you're a reversal based trader like I am, right? This is specifically what you're going to be looking for in the market, is going to be reversal based, you could say, patterns in the market, right? Not candlestick patterns, but more so the same sequence of price, right? That's what you're going to be looking for. But not only that, breakouts, continuations require absorption. Breakouts also need these same orders, these same participants to help utilize as fuel. Because remember, we've mainly been going over these reversals, right? Down here and down here, right? But ultimately, we will break out, right? Let's say there was some orders here, right? We come into price. We start to see a little bit of a rejection, right? Where they initially meet. And this is just for sake of example, right? But they're not strong enough to completely reverse price. They're not strong enough to absorb these buyers that are delivering and strong from down here. So therefore, these sellers are now going to be used as fuel for us to move higher. If they're absorbed and there's nobody willing to sell, nobody strong enough to sell and take price back down, then that's just going to simply be used as fuel for the market. And now that fuel is going to push price higher. And that's how the market continues, right? So whenever you're looking for a reversal or a continuation, that logic, that basis is going to be super important to think about. And that's going to give you a chance to kind of reflect and see, okay, am I seeing this happen here? Am I seeing this happen there? Like I said, it happens, and you can tell by looking at order flow like you see on my screen. A simplified way of viewing that is going to be so helpful for you, and learning price action. We're going to go into that even deeper in the following episodes. But now, you know who moves price. You know why price moves from area to area, and what price must interact with in order to reverse or continue. Now, why does this change everything when you're actually able to understand this? When you're trading, remember, this basis and logic of the market, this is applicable to every single trading strategy. Every single one. It doesn't matter if you trade ICT. It doesn't matter if you trade supply and demand, support and resistance, right? Moon phases, right? Anything you can think of, Fibonacci levels, standard deviation. It does not matter. Think about the foundation or what you're used to trading right now, most comfortable with, or even just heard of, right? You don't have to abandon those things if you're most comfortable with them, if they're working for you, right? But this is super important to add on to your basis of thinking, your foundation, right? You already have that foundation of how something works, right? You have supply and demand, which is similar. It takes the basics, right, of how the market works, right? But just more so from drawing out highs and lows and relevant, highs that produce, strong move down, somebody will mark up supply zone, right? A low that produces a strong move up, people will draw a demand zone, right? Things like that. But those aren't real orders and liquidity in the market, right? That's why using a tool like this that can actually pinpoint that is super important, right? This is why adding this to the basis, so let's say you have a demand zone, right? And you see that there's actually orders and liquidity lying also either right above, within that same area that you drew out, or just below, right? And we see price tap into both of those areas. Now you have your original confluence, and you have the support of actual buyers that are on the order book. And now you can use that confluence, and whatever your entry model is, and also whatever you take from this bootcamp later on about price action, my personal entry model, things like that. You can combine those things and then take a trade, catch that reversal, catch that breakout if you want to, right? There's a multitude of things that you can do, right? If you trade ICT, right? You trade inversion fair value gaps, right? Which are very, very popular, right? Now, we can even just talk about right here, right? You have a move down into this area. Let's say you want to target this high, right? Typically, people will look for like the sweep of liquidity. They'll look for that SMT at the lows, right? If this has an SMT with ES, and then they'll look for a prominent, the fair value gap that's inversed on the way to this prominent high, right? They'll take their entry right here, so on and so forth, and target this, right? Well, cool, right? You got a late entry. Meanwhile, you could have got one down here using price action, using the right things, right? The right approach to the market. But even if you still wanted to take a setup like this, right? You could at least have the confidence like, okay, I'm at least supported by buyers on this move up. And I don't see sellers until we get, all the way up here, right? So now you can at least know that you're protected in the trade, right? Use it as extra confidence. But if there's another type of strategy, right, that allows you to get an entry model either at least closer down to this low, you can still have this as added support and added confidence for that as well, right? The thing is, the moral of the story is being able to think about the market in this way is genuinely going to change your way of thinking for the better. Now, this bootcamp, what I'm going to teach you, my way of trading with simplified order flow, like I said, you don't have to trade my exact model, right? My exact system, right? But the foundation and the basis and the way of thinking behind it is only going to add and benefit your personal approach. And I'm not saying that because I invented it or whatever. I didn't invent how the market works, right? I am just simply taking how it works and using that as my reasoning to get into a trade. Because think about it logically. Why would you not trade how the market works? Why would you trade contrary to how the market works? Why would you trade based off of simply candlestick patterns, right? Which a lot of things, they'll just simply boil down to candlestick patterns. Yes, fair value gaps. They are just things that you are identifying on a candlestick. Are you able to see if there's genuinely people that are willing to sell at that price, willing to buy at that price? No, right? You have to see behind the scenes if you want that extra edge in the market, right? That's why understanding this changes everything. People consider some things to be an edge, other things to not be an edge. A true edge in the markets is utilizing something that everybody who opens up a chart can't visibly see. Everybody who opens up a chart, right? What do we see? We see candlesticks, price action. Yes, that is super foundational, effective, important. Yes, candlesticks, price action. We're going to go over that in this. We're going to have a whole episode about price action. But to have a true edge, you need to be able to see into the back end of the market, because not everybody who opens up a normal chart is going to see that point blank. When you have access to that information, when you're able to use that logic to frame your trades, you are now a step ahead of everyone else, right? And this is what I teach people every single day, whether I'm live trading or I'm mentoring somebody. This is what you need, right? Like I said, you can ultimately watch this and not use it, but you can watch this and actually see the value in it. So I want each and every one of you watching this to let this be the foundation of how you think. But not only that, this is not all that's required. And the rest of this bootcamp, like we talked about, if you need to go back and reference yesterday's video, you can. But we're going to be talking about everything that goes into this, how to view this without any supplemental tools, just off of price action, right? Remember, we talked about that's the foundation, very effective, important. And then we're going to be talking about how to identify setups like these that you can catch the best moves possible by incorporating simplified order flow, seeing into the back end of the market. And you're going to see that your trading, your way of thinking is going to completely flip on its head. Okay, so stay tuned for the next episode. Like I said, like I mentioned at the outset, my one-on-one mentorship is starting on January 23rd. We are now in the early bird program. So if you join the wait list, because like I said, I only have 24 hours. I can only mentor so many people, and I want to take the most personalized and one-on-one approach with you. That's why it's not open to every last person known to man, right? So that's why there's a small group that's going to be taken. Hopefully you're part of that group. I look forward to seeing you in there. Let's get started. I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe, stay in tune. Like I said, don't watch this if you're only going to watch half a video, and I'll never see you again. I want you here for every single episode. I want you here paying attention, taking notes, and I'll see you on the next episode tomorrow.